Hello and welcome to our Wellness Universe class Self-Compassion and Self-Love. Today we will talk about rebirth and renewal, which is very actual in our time. While we are recording this lesson, we still have the challenge of COVID. And I'm Ingrid Auer. I'm from Austria, from Europe. I've been working with angels and angelic tools since more than 20 years. And a part of this class will be my aspect with the angels. And Joanne, who is from the US, she will introduce herself. She's the expert of self-compassion and self-love. So I will give the word over to you, Joanne.
Thank you, Ingrid. My work in the world really is about compassion, loving compassion, and finding that within ourselves first, so that we can bring that out into the world. And I am here. I am a transcendence coach, and I do spiritual guidance. I'm in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and it's been a transformational time around the world, and particularly I feel I'm deep in the midst of what is happening on so many levels. So I'm so grateful to be here with all of you today, because we're all going through these things in our own way, at our own way of being in the world. It's calling different things up in each of us. I don't think any two of us are alike in this. It really is something individual and collectively, but it begins with the individual first. And there is this great idea of the dark night, and that's where we are right now. We were coming out, I believe, of the dark night. The dark night is that undoing and unveiling of our inner self. It's where all of a sudden we see within ourselves that there is a deeper part of us that's been calling us, and maybe we've heard it in little whispers, but now it's like banging on the door saying, open up. I have things to share with you, and ways of being that are true to you, and I want you to know. So it's a time of self-awareness and deep reflection and introspection. And we see this in ourselves, we feel this in ourselves, and then we see it in the outer world as like a big, massive projection of what's happening within us. And like I said, we're all going through this in different ways. So the collective is much bigger and different than even what we experience within ourselves. But what really is calling us to is a compassionate response. And how can I show up? And compassion means that we befriend it, like we move into it and we take some action. And that comes from a place of love, and that source of love, as we've talked about over these weeks, that source of love is inside of each of us. It isn't something that needs to be given to us from the outside, because it's there. And it always has been and always will be. So this is the great unveiling. It's the great undoing of the lockdown that is over our hearts. And there's a poet, David White, I don't know if many of you know him, but he describes these two opposing forces as a way, and it was funny because Ingrid and I had already named the class Regeneration and Rebirth. And then I saw this of his work, and he says that these two opposing forces are the regeneration and rebirth within us. It's this great vulnerability that overwhelms us from the inside out. And it's doing that, as well as this opposing force from the outside that's also threatening us. So it's this like an accordion happening.
Mm-hmm.
You know? It's like the perfect storm, and it lays us bare, and it makes us very vulnerable. So it is a time for very deep self-care as well, right? And so, Natalie, yes, practicing spiritual self-care on a daily basis. We can talk about that some more as we go on, but that's really very important right now for all of us, as it always is, but even more so. And so there's this piece, I think I want to read this little poem by Rumi that really, I think, it's short, but it really is significant for this. It's thinking of ourselves as a guest house. As a human being, we are a guest house. And he says, this human being is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and attend them all, even if there's a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house of all its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be cleaning you out for some new delight. And this is what I feel is happening. We are being cleaned for a new delight. And so I will turn it over to you now, dear Ingrid, to help us with some support.
I love the idea of the dark night, because if you think of the lockdown we had or still have right now, it's also something like a dark night. You don't know what's going on. It's like as someone would have switched off the lights. Someone, you don't even see who switched off the lights. And you have to stay inside, and you are not allowed to go outside to the dark. And you feel disoriented. I'm not sure if this is the right word. Or you feel insecure what's going out in the dark night. So you have to stay and to go inside you, because you can't go outside. You have to reflect and to self-reflect. And there are so many people who had time or more time for themselves to realize how they are, who they are, and why they are, what they are doing, what they are wanting, expecting. They can check if they are still on the right path of their life. So the dark night is a very, very good picture. And on the other hand, I think the dark night is also the state of a caterpillar waiting to become a butterfly. It's also a dark night. And I remember in my life, it was about 20 years or longer, I had a year which was also a little bit like a dark night. I felt good, but I realized something is going on and something will come and will change my life. I could feel it inside me, but I didn't know what it is. And after this year, I was a little bit impatient. I got the message to channel the symbols and the essences and to work together with the angels. And this was also a little bit a dark night, because I'm normally very active and I couldn't do anything, just sit and wait, feeling that something is going on. And this was also for me the time of renewal in a different way. So thank you for the idea of the dark night. And when we are forced to be in a dark night, we should use this time, this period in our life for regeneration, because after the dark night, when we go back into the life, maybe with new ideas, maybe with a new mission, maybe as a newborn, so to say, we need the energy. And therefore, we should use the time before the renewal to have regeneration and to gain our own energy. I have found some practical tips which I want to share with you. Very important, be aware of your thoughts. We all know what we think we will be. And there are so many unhelpful thoughts that don't really help us. They are destructive, not constructive. And therefore, we should be aware. I don't like the word control, but it's a kind of controlling our thoughts, because we can decide if the thoughts will lift us up or press us down. The next is separate yourself from your emotions. Many people do not realize that their feelings and thoughts are not really the facts. Remind yourself that you are not your thoughts and that feelings aren't facts. There's a big difference between having the thought that you are undesirable and actually being undesirable. And we always should be aware of the emotions, that the emotions are not reality, but this what happens in our mind. Yeah, and another important thing, not everyone is prepared to be a very humorous person. I'm also more serious than yeah, but bring humor and lightheartedness to your life as good as you can by creating a pretty painting and letting your fun, playful side shine through. Despite the hardship you're dealing with, you'll become less aroused and better able to calm down. As I said, some people are people having fun and they have a playful side, yeah, not the serious side. But we also and always should be aware that fun or creativity can help us to gain more energy and to relax. Let bodily reactions happen. Instead of trying to push the sensations away, allow them to simply pass through your body like a wave. Sometimes we think we have to push away, but any pushing away is a kind of pressure. And pressure costs energy. And we lose energy if we push something away. Maybe we can transform this, what we don't like, or as I mentioned, let it go through the body like a wave and do not store it in your body. Yes, don't judge yourself for being emotional. So many of us are judging themselves always and always and always. Many of us grew up and were educated to be tough, to be strong, to be fixed, focused, centered, and not to show emotions, especially the boys or the men, of course. But it's very important that we live our emotions, that we are aware of our emotions, that we show our emotions, not to everyone, of course, because there are people who want to hurt us, but we should not judge ourselves for being emotional. Take your emotions for what they are and validate them as real feelings without judging yourself for being vulnerable. This is very important. If you cannot non-judgmentally observe them, they will eventually dissipate without any effort on your behalf. Take a deep breath. It's very important to focus our mind on breathing, especially if you are anxious or stressed, because You cannot be both at the same times, breathing and anxious. So you have to decide either breathe or be anxious. So a good technique against anxiety is always breathing, and there are special trainings and techniques. They are very easy. You can do them by yourself, and you will realize that breathing will be very helpful to relax, to calm down. And research shows that taking deep breath can elevate stressful emotions. Breathing can reduce cortisol's effects, thus calming our body down and bringing us back to a clearer mental and physical state. Cry if you need to. Let yourself be vulnerable and cry if you need to, because crying is washing or cleaning the soul from burdenings. Just let yourself be. It's best to cry alone or in the comfort of people you trust, rather than on the street or at work. So be mindful of your location. Of course, if the tears come out on the street or at work, it's okay. But if you want to have a safe surrounding, talk with people you know very well, or with family and friends, and cry, or alone. Go out to the wood, go out to the nature, and have a relief. Get fresh air, yes, as I mentioned. Take yourself for a brisk walk outside. Taking a few moments to yourself allows you to collect for thoughts, calm your body, and separate yourself from the situation. Nature is always healing. Nature is always calming down, relieving, and has a lot of healing energy. I like this picture of this man. Meditate even for a few minutes regularly. It's important to address your emotions, but it's critical to keep them under control and move on efficiently and quickly. So repeat your meditations. Not always easy for people who are always thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking, but try at least to meditate. And even if you meditate for 5 minutes a day, it shouldn't be under pressure. It can be easily done, maybe before you go up, or before you fall asleep, or when you are ironing or cooking. There's also a good time for meditation. You can, of course, draw back and relax and meditate, but you can integrate meditation in daily practical life. So, my dear Tran.
Well, thank you, Ingrid. You know, I was thinking about when you were talking about the importance of crying. I think that there is a lot of tears that are welling up in people who, especially who are very empathic, just feeling the deep grieving, even of the earth, you know, around us as we're on it. So I think a really important question to ask is, when that feeling comes up too, is this something of me, or is it something from outside of me that I'm feeling that's causing this grief? And of course, the two are intricately entwined in some ways, but many times I find myself just happy, and then a wash of sadness goes through.
Mm-hmm.
And I will ask myself, is that of me, or is that of something else? And if I will just ask that question and then sit for a minute, I'll feel the answer come. You know, that is a collective sadness, and then I'll be okay. So then I'll spend a moment just sending love out.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
it's very important. Yeah.
Yes, because sometimes we can believe that's all us, and that becomes very overwhelming. But if just a few simple questions, and that just taking the moment and breathing and saying, is this mine?
Yeah.
And that's important too, with even just with another person. You know, we can feel that. So just I thought I'd put that out.
Yeah. Just a few sentences. I realized there are special days in the year where you can feel the cloud of sadness. And one of these days, at least here in Austria, is Christmas Day. Because people are sad because they have lost someone, or they are alone, or they are disappointed, or they got divorced, or they are ill. And on days when everyone should be happy and they are not happy, the energy is like a dense cloud. And I couldn't realize for a long time why I felt sad on Christmas, until a friend of mine said, it's not your energy, it's not your feeling, it's in the morphogenetic field. Yeah. So thank you for this advice. Yeah.
Yes, because I really feel, just as we can feel the sadness, we can also feel the joy at times, you know? So it's and so this is a time of really deep regeneration, and both within ourselves and with each other and in the larger world, and even beyond this world that we know. And it's a time that is really asking us to make a choice. Do we want to be part of this regeneration? That is a big question that we have to answer. And not everyone will say yes. So it's a choice. And once we make a choice to be part of it, it requires a commitment from us. And restoration requires, it's an outpouring of energy. So in order to do that successfully, we need to support ourselves. And that's why I put on here the two main ingredients of this are some deep rest and then getting the support we need around that. So going back even to the question of self-care, you know, sometimes, as Ingrid had, you know, mentioned, breathing and meditating doesn't need to be sitting in that one style or anything. It just means, you know, calming the mind, opening the heart. So we can do that in very simple ways too. In fact, we can just put one hand over our heart and one hand on our abdomen, and we'll do this later, but just feel the breath rise and just put your attention to the breath and feel your heart, your hand over your heart warm, and know that you are, you know, you are accessing the love, you are calling it forth. And that only requires a minute of time, and you can shift your energy. And I just want to get this out here that, you know, we have a choice here. We really do. And it is a time of rebirth in regeneration. And birth itself is a labor of love. And so we are now in this labor of love. And as we know in birth, whether we've experienced it as the birther or having been through birth as the baby, it's a very vulnerable time. And it requires great focus. I was a birth doula for a number of years, and it really is the vulnerability of the mother acknowledging that it's the baby that is birthing. It's the baby that is creating the timeline. It's the baby that is letting go to come through. It's letting go of one world and moving into the next. And a lot of my doula work was helping the mother and baby communicate to make that feel safe and trusted, so that the baby would let go and come through and be okay with the vulnerability of moving into this world. And that is, you know, requires some real commitment and trust on both sides. And it's such a beautiful thing to watch birth within this relationship between mother and child. it's really a harnessing of a deep, deep primordial energy of time and space that happens in birth. And so I just think that if we can think about it, it is a labor of love. And if you feel vulnerable at this time, that's to be expected. And to move through it is really to focus on love and commitment to saying yes. Saying yes, I'm ready for this. I can do this. So, and just as in birthing, you know, the focus is on breathing, like breathing yourself into the world. It's a coming home to ourselves in a way that we have never encountered ourselves before. And I think we all feel this right now. We are entering this world in a new way if we say yes to it, in a way that is unknown to us. And we need to trust and be okay with not knowing for a while. Every time we move into a state of new being, a new way of being, it requires us to really let go and just trust that if we show up and if we come from a place of love, everything will be okay. It will unfold just as it should, and there will be so much beauty in its unfolding. And this brings us a new sense of belonging again to ourselves through choice, and belonging into this new world that we're part of the co-creation of everything around us. So I think that as difficult as this is, it is such a beautiful time to be here right now, to be alive. And so on to you, dear Ingrid, with some more support.
I think we queued up in the line before this incarnation because we wanted to be right here in this time to co-create with the spiritual world, co-create the big change. And I found some symbols in my set, angel symbols 1, 2, 14, 9, which are very supportive for what we are talking about. For example, the angel symbol and angel essence for death and rebirth. And I remember so many people, they draw the card and they say, oh my gosh, angel for death and rebirth. Hopefully I won't die, or someone of my family. But it's not the physical death. It's the energetical, spiritual renewal or rebirth. And we can let go. And if you see the symbol on the card and the loops, this is how we are going down and down and down and down at the bottom. And then we came up again. And I'm a Scorpio, and I know this very well, all the downs and ups and downs and ups. So this is typically for my life. And the angels transmitted this symbol to me, and it's very intensively to feel if you put the symbol on your eye chakra or third eye. And the affirmation is every death is also a new beginning. So this is a very, very important symbol or essence, but many people are afraid of it. The symbol, the energy of the angel symbol and the essence can support us on an energetic spiritual level. For example, on the right-hand side, if we're stuck in a personal life crisis, or if we do not want to see a crisis as such, because some people are in a crisis and don't realize, or they refuse, because the word crisis for them means something bad or poor. But crisis is the chance for a change, and crisis is a chance for a new beginning. The crisis is a chance of becoming better, bigger, more spiritual, more aware. Everything is included in a crisis. The energy also helps us to realize that we are just about to break through, like in a birth process, like you said, as a doula. I didn't know you were a doula. Amazing. I really, midwives and doulas, I always see in my next life, I will become a midwife at least. And this angel energy also helps us if we are stagnating or we are feeling like in a birth canal. This angel energy also helps us to see and accept life cycles and or become independent of one's parents, partners, teachers. So if we finish a period of our lifetime to become more independent, this also has to do with death and rebirth. Yes, of course, to enter a transformation process, unconscious or consciously, and to take the chance and to survive a crisis in one's life. So it's always a birth process, and we know birth is sometimes very challenging. So the angels or the angel group for death and rebirth can support us with their energy. There's another angel energy, another angel group, the angel for renewal and development. So you see the loops again. It's not always this development, sometimes like this, some detours, or to develop. The color is white. This means you have more light and more awareness in your mind or in your, I don't know, in your life. And the affirmation of this angel group is, or to connect with the angel group, I acknowledge all renewals and transformations in my life. So this is a very, very helpful angel group, angel energy. The essence, the symbol, the energy can help us to adapt to new circumstances because it's like a baby or a child. First it's unborn, then it's newborn, then it's a toddler, then it's a school child, then it's puberty, an adult. So we also always have to adapt to new circumstances. This energy also helps us to give up resignation and stubbornness. So these angels help us if we are sad, frustrated, or without any hope. They also help us to let the fear of change go, because many people are afraid of the change itself, because every change is a little bit a surprise, because you cannot calculate and you don't know what's about or after the big change. The angels also help us to develop in all areas, on the physical level, the mental level, the emotional, the spiritual level. They help us to get rid of old ballast, to remove everything that we are wearing from this life or past lives. They also help us letting oneself go, or if we are phlegmatic or we have stagnation, they give us a little bit of kick into the but in a very loving way. Sometimes we are fighting the new because it's not comfortable for us. We do not know it, we cannot calculate. So they help us if we are fighting the new. They are clinging on the old, or when we are clinging onto the old, and when we are ignoring the need for change. So the angels are always very helpful, loving, sometimes a little bit pushing, never punishing. Punishment is mankind. This is what we created, never the angels. So they are supportive and they are very patient. If you don't want to change, it's okay for them. If you are afraid of renewal, it's okay. They will give us impulses, but then they wait and stand still and hold us and hug us, everything. They never will push. So this is my impact about the angel and renewal. So I invite you to do the closing meditation, please.
Thank you, Ingrid. You know, it's so interesting. I think what you said at the end about the angels, I think that I have had sometimes some very intense conversations with them about, yes, I just want you to make me do it. And they won't, you know. You know, times when I'm just afraid to make that change that is I'm being called to make. I know that they will support it if I would step into it, but it's that stepping in, you know, but they are patient. They will wait. And because it has to be our choice.
Sometimes they prepare the circumstances.
Yes.
And
yes.
Sometimes we get a kick, but they never will force us to do anything.
Yes. Yeah.
Sometimes we need a kick.
Well, I've asked for that, and they do answer. I mean, if you request, they will answer your request. So, but yeah, it's so interesting. But you are right. Anything that is they are there to love us and support us and to really expand and continue regenerating us. To continue, I mean, if I feel at least that they are there to continue to help me rebirth in bigger ways, you know, bigger ways. I mean, in spiritual ways, in larger, a reclamation of the spiritual self as one of love. And so I just thank you so much. I love working with you because I always feel like we didn't, people don't know this, but we didn't see each other's slides that, you know, really before. And then we come together and I see the slideshow and I think, oh my goodness, of course. It all fits together so well. And you just trust. So.
Yeah.
But for a closing meditation, I just want to give you a little bit more instruction on the hand to heart, the hand to womb. And also I have something that I wrote here about this whole process that we're in. And I just woke up one morning and felt moved to write this. And so I'm going to share that with you. But first, just a brief instruction. There is a practice that is done to quickly alleviate any kind of anxiety or any kind of fear that is within us, to bring us to clear mind. And it doesn't take long. It really is about focusing on the breath. So if you want, it's called boxed breathing, and some of you may know it. So if you put your left hand on your womb, the source of your creation, and you put your right hand on your heart and close your eyes. And we're going to breathe. And while we breathe, we're going to focus on building a box, and focusing on the box will take away what is troubling you in your mind and bring you into this focus and calm. So as we breathe in, I'm going to count to 4, and I want you to visualize the breath rising from the womb up into the heart on a count of 4. And then as I count the next 4, I'm going to have you hold your breath and visualize the breath moving out, straight out in front of you for 4 counts. And then I'm going to ask you to release your breath. And as you do, we'll count to 4 and you'll feel your breath drop down for 4. And then I'm going to have you draw the breath back into the womb. So again, it's 4 breaths up into the heart from the womb. Then holding the breath on a count of 4 out. And then breathing it down. And then bringing it back in on a count of 4, 2, back into the womb. So there's this continual cycle of rebirth happening here. Regeneration and rebirth. So focusing right now on the womb, the place of your first incarnation into the physical world. The womb is the water of life. So focusing on this beautiful water, this beautiful energy of birth, formation of you as a human, a physical being in this divine essence. And some people think of the soul inside of themselves, but let's think of the soul encompassing the physical body. It is more than within, it is within and around us. And you can feel that in the water of the womb. This really beautiful spiritual caressing, this gentle rocking. And so I'd like you to breathe that essence up into your heart in a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold it here. 2, 3, 4, and breathing it out. 2, 3, 4, and holding it as it goes down and back into the womb. 2, 3, 4. Gathering the water of the womb up. 2, 3, 4. Holding and expanding in our hearts. 2, 3, 4. Breathing out. 2, 3, 4, and coming down. Holding that as we draw it back in. 2, 3, 4. And once again, bringing the water of life up to the heart. 3, 4. And holding and expanding that in our heart. 2, 3, 4. And breathing that out. 2, 3, 4. And as you hold it, bringing it down and back into the womb. And here, just continue at a normal pace of breathing. And I'm going to read you a short poem on waking into this new life of regeneration and rebirth. She sleeps, she dreams, she wakes, she waits, she waits. She sleeps, she dreams, she wakes. Filled with hope, she shifts, she moves. She sleeps, she dreams, she wakes. Filled with hope, made visible, she breathes. She stands, she shows herself. She sleeps, She dreams. She wakes. Filled with hope, made visible, made known. She speaks. She's ready. She shows up. She sleeps. She dreams. She wakes. Made visible, made known. Filled with hope, put forward. She remembers. She commits. She owns her place in the world. She sleeps. She dreams. She wakes. Made visible, made known, filled with hope, put forward, with courageous compassion. She lives. She loves. She shines. And you are a shining light in the world. You are a shining light in the darkness. It is a time of your regeneration and rebirth. And I wish you so much love in this journey. And so it is.
Thank you. A deep breath to come back.
Yes.
Get grounded again.
Yes, the grounding, coming back to the earth is very important to bring this back into the earth.
Yeah. The energy and the consciousness. Have a look if you find Archangel Uriel. This is the Archangel who helps me always to come back after meditation, or if I am not grounded enough, which sometimes happens. So I take this to my heart and to my bra, and friend Uriel is coming with me for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
You see, I'm very practical. I'm an angel practitioner in a very practical way. So thank you so much for co-creating our lesson, which is not a lesson, which is an event, or I don't know the word. It's much for me, much more than just a class. I'm so happy that so many people joined us, and I say hello and goodbye from Austria to
And
the US and to many different countries. We will see each other within the next few weeks. We will inform you as soon as we have the date. Thank you, Jan, for being with me, my dear friend. I really love your energy. I'm so grateful to be your friend and that you are going with me through my life. Thank you so much.
thank you so much, Ingrid. And thank you, everyone, for showing up and coming today. And I will hold you and just offer you so much love until we see each other again. Such a pleasure.
Until the next time. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.